So, guys, tonight I'm going to be talking about the tactics that the narcissists use to bait you into their web of lies and deception. This is what I encountered online with the online narcissist. Um, he came to me and mentioned to me about some type of digital money online and wanted to. It was some type of investment account online, and so he walked me through it. He said, okay, this is how you do it, you set it up this way. So I set it up. But when it got to the part where you had to, they issue you your account number and your routing number, he told me then, after I got that, to snapshot it and send it to him. So I told him, I said, no, I'm not sending you that, information, because that's my personal information. I'm not going to send that to you. So that didn't work out with the online narcissist. And then there was another tactic he tried to use, and it didn't work. He kept telling me that he was going to come to visit. And I was like, okay, so let me know when. That way, you can pick the hotel and let me know, and I can make arrangements, to meet you at the hotel or whatever, so we can meet up. So in the meantime, in between time, he told me he booked a room for himself and for me, and also booked a room for his security team. I'm like, security team? He said, yes, my security team. I said, oh, okay. I said, and what's the name of the hotel? And the name that you booked the room under, so that I can call and check, So he gave me some type of cockamamie name and fake name and hotels. So when I called the hotel and I asked, was there a reservation for this name that was booked for 2 rooms? And they said, man, we don't have a person by that name booked for 2 rooms. I said, well, I was told that they booked the room for 2 rooms under this name. They said, no, we don't have that. So I let the online narcissist know. I said, well, there is no room booked under that name that you gave me. Okay, that tactic didn't work. Because he said, I would have to, it cost like $6,000, because for his security team to have a room in his room, so he wanted me to pay half on that. And I says, oh no, I say there is no room booked with that name, so that didn't work. That tactic didn't work. He couldn't get no money. Then there's another tactic. He claimed he wanted me to visit, and so I said, well, where am I going to stay? So he could not give me a specific place that I was going to be staying. I said, wait a minute. I said, you mean to tell me you want me to come visit you? I said, but you don't know where I'm going to stay. I said, now, I can't stay at your house and things like that. He said, nobody stays here but my male friends. So I said, oh, your male friends. He said, well, you have to get an apartment. I said, an apartment? I said, why would I do that? I said, that requires a credit check, and you got to put a first month down. I mean, a first month and last month security and all that kind of stuff. I said, why would I invest in an apartment there when I have property here where I live? So we couldn't get nothing going with that. And then he said, well, yeah, so when you come, I said, so let me just book my flight. He said, no, I'll book your flight. I said, you'll book my flight? He said, yeah. He said, what's your address? I said, I'm not giving you my address. I said, because first of all, you don't even know what days I'm going to travel. I said, and how long am I supposed to be staying? I said, and first of all, you have not given me a secure place where I'm going to be staying. So I'm not coming, like that. So I said, you have to tell me where I'm going to be staying. So, well, anyway, but it's okay. You can just stay here like that. That's what he said. You can just stay here in my house like that. And so he said, wherever you stay, I'm going to have Gucci with me. I said, why are you going to have Gucci with you? He said, Gucci going to protect me. I said, protect you from what? I said, so this is where it go. I say, so if I don't do what you don't want me to do, you're going to put Gucci on me. You're going to see Gucci on me to bite and hurt me. And he didn't say anything else. And then so I said, well, how would I get there? I said, do I have to rent a car when I get there? No, you don't have to rent a car. He said, because I'm going to have my team, my security team, to pick you up at the airport. I said, I tell you what, I said, give me a couple of days to think about, to figure out the 2 days that I can take off or whatever like that. I say, because you probably couldn't stand to see me for no longer than 2 days. I say, so, but give me a couple of days and I'll hit you back up and let you know exactly when I can make it out there. So he said, okay. But in the meantime, the crypto money is what I was trying to think about. He helped me to set up the account with the crypto account. And so when it got to the part where they gave you your account number and your routing number, and you have to, I think, connect your banking account with that. That way that you can easily transfer money from your checking account to your crypto account. So after I set it up, he says, send me a snapshot of your account number and your routing number of the crypto money. And I said, I'm not sending you no snapshot of my account, my routing number and account number. He got angry. Every request that I denied him access to any of my information any kind of way, he got angry. This online narcissist got angry. He knew that I was not the one to be played with, but he tried me, but he knew that I wasn't. Then, so after I told him I would get back with him in a couple of days, I never did. I blocked him because each and every situation, he always had to have control. Oh, I'm going to book your flight. He had me talking about some flight I never heard of before in my life. I said, I'm not getting on that flight. They might take me to some other country and I never get back home. He said, well, what airline do you fly? So I told him, I said, no. I says, let me just figure out the couple of days. I said, because I just can't just jump up and move around like that. I have things back at home here that I have to take care of. And you just don't just jump up and move around. So I said, give me a couple of days. After those couple of days, he was blocked because it was nothing but red flags. Everything was red flags. So these are the things you have to look out for. He had no place for me to sleep. He could not tell me where I was going to be staying. And I also heard on one of the platforms him saying that some woman came to his house and he had to get the police on the woman. And the woman told the policeman that he mentioned crypto to him. And the police asked him, well, did you ask her about some crypto money online or something? And he claimed he didn't know anything about the crypto money, which I know was a lie. And so he said the lady gave all her money to the fake person, and she had nowhere to stay, and she was there with all of her bags. I said that is the same exact thing that he would have tried to do with me. But see, God is not mocked, okay? Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. God knew that this man was trying to set me up to be a failure and to take everything that I have and worked hard for. But because God is God, he protected me. When God said block him, I blocked him. We talked on the internet for 1 month and everything he said was a lie. And I just sat back and I listened to it. I just listened to it. I didn't make no argument or fuss. I just listened. And when I was tired of listening, I said, I will hit you back up in a couple of days and we'll figure out when we can meet up. And that's when I blocked him. And he didn't know what happened. And that is why he smeared my name or whatever he did. It didn't bother me, not one bit or the other. But anyway, be careful about giving out information to the narcissist. I don't care if he's online, offline, wherever. Do not give out your information because they would utilize your information against you down the line. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll talk to you guys in another video.